has a bit of a task on his hands. None of his lanes are good to gank. He's got to track once here, play reactively, and I think Steel's going to have a really, really tough job.
If there was anyone that could do it, though, it is the man in the jungle for Detonation FocusMe. Has been a top jungler in the LJL for many years at this point as we load onto the Rift for Game 3. 1 apiece in the series, match point available for whoever can take the dub in this one.
Right. Oddly enough, with the lack of Nautilus, we're now playing like everyone's got a Nautilus in the bottom lane. We're going to get into those bushes. Just take a ward away. First CS for Vital. Congratulations for getting on the board. Ghost once again for the Sivir. Not indexing into the cleanse. Not worried about Yaharong Zoe. We'll have to see whether that comes back to bite him in a few minutes. Across the board, though, a bit more proactive. Definitely looking at that top lane explosion from Sengoku. Evi, he's on the Sejuani. It's quite tanky. But will it stand up to Armor Break from once? Will it stand up to Paz's Lizard Wizardry?
It's difficult because I'd like to say yes, because the Sejuani is incredibly tanky at most stages of the game, honestly, to a certain extent. And there is a bit of an ability for Ebi to get fed and cause some issues. I've seen numerous times Sejuanis, if they do get a couple kills, can snowball with that tankiness and be a frontline that is very, very difficult to deal with. And when you've got Steel on this Wukong, a melee jungler, you can pair up so nicely.
The stuns coming through thick, fast. Let's have a quick look at Blitzcrank's power analysis.
Oh, no idea. No idea.
It's all up and down. Slightly different spikes, likely correlating to different team fight victories when these AD carries, when the Azir is involved post level 6, started to get a little bit wavy, a little bit haywire. Whichever team comes out on top with those large tools will make the difference. Sivir getting the push at level 1, no shock. The nameplate's reversed. Udapon and Harp now stand where Vital and NT have stood all series.
The Sivir and the Karma, notorious for their ability to not only go incredibly quickly, but also just shove you out of lane. The Zeri is not a particularly potent laner, and whilst the Lulu can definitely stand up to a certain extent, you aren't going to be getting that priority. And that does mean that with still moving towards the bottom side of the Rift, that if DFM can keep the wave here, if Sengoku aren't quite able to get the shove, there may be an angle for a Wukong to get some early action going.
Both junglers on their way down. Forget that top lane. You can fix that later. With that volatile wave just outside of the tower. This is cool for both junglers to start participating in the Scuttle Crab. Or the lane may come first. Depends on how badly Udapon and Harp shove this back, on how much they want to get out from under their tower.
So temporal, the Zoe is not something that we are typically seeing. Picked a lot. Yaharong has played it so far this split. I'm sort of wondering how we feel like it's going to be interacting into the composition that Sengoku have built for themselves.
I think it's going to be the other half of what Vi was doing for DFM. You know, Steel can go forwards and knock everyone up. That's not a prolonged lockdown. It can be converted forwards into other things like a sleepy trouble bubble when the target is made easy and made accessible. I want to see Yaharong absolutely messing with that backline, deep flanks, causing Sengoku to falter in their approach forwards. I think that is Zoe's role here as once is up.
Yaharong. Oh, flash with the Vault Breaker as well, but Yaharong using the flash of his own to steal away once's flash, trade of summoner spells in the mid lane, but Zoe, without that flash, is a hell of a lot more vulnerable even once you get to that level 6 point.
I think we're going to see once go mid again, and oh, Steel, a victim of once's pathing. I think this is the Tarzan path. I think someone else might have done it slightly before, so I'm gonna renege on that name slightly. But that means there is nothing left in that top side. Vital and NT, though, what a poor time.
Yeah, they're so far pushed up, and even though they're able to spot out the Wukong, they may not be able to escape with their lives. Flash is still available for the bot lane of Sengoku as NT is attempting to get away. One more hit from Steel will take him out.
Right on the edge of surviving there. Steel, perfect timing. Sengoku really thought Steel would not be there and would likely be pathing back away or resetting on his first item. Instead, Wukong, just in the nick of time, checks the bottom lane, finds nothing in the jungle, and just comes out onto the rift. It's clear Vital and NT really aren't expecting this right now. Their vision not complete enough to let them know that the staggered path from Steel has led him into their lane.
And it's so unfortunate. They get that initial play onto Harp. They think that they've got the Lulu locked down and are going to be able to pick up first blood, but gets turned around for themselves. And it's Sengoku's bot lane actually falling to an early deficit, which is not something that we've seen really at all in this series. Paz having his way with Ebi a little bit, but crucially, the Sejuani still even on CS. Advantage, but still making some action happen on that Wukong. We can see why it's first picked.
Yeah, just the ability to spin to win. But instead of guaranteeing a little bit of damage, the full knock-up, the full team fight presence, just buys so much time for everyone else. And just adds damage in the same way Vi does, just gets the Sunderer and can push it through so much resistance to be sort of a nice easy spread of damage. The Trouble Bubble will find Enti, Harp, Steel, they've got in.
Yeah, they're going for the play onto the card. Will it not back? Beautiful Emperor's Divide from Jet. As Steel now on the run. Those Honey Freaks going to heal up the Wukong a little bit. The shield comes through just in time to prevent the Sand Soldiers from taking him out. Once again, once charging up that Vault Breaker, but we know level 6 can't quite get in range. Sengoku, they are desperate for these kills onto the members of DFM, but they're not coming through quite just yet. Sleepy Trouble Bubble lands as Yaharon going forward isn't able to find the kill. Somehow DFM get away with their lives.
Just about. The shuffle looked complete there. DFM just able to get away, just able. The Honey Fruit with the smite, with all the little things that litter the river that are just able to be picked up. They just live. The Dragon will not be taken for a little while now. The tempo disrupted for both teams. The junglers looking at their top sides rather hungrily right now. There is also the threat of the Herald cross map. Both teams going to have to take a minute to assess and try and feel each other out.
Paz going very aggressive onto Ebi in the top lane. The Sejuani still able to trade out relatively decently. Has opted towards the Glacial Shroud as the first item, maybe hinting towards a Frozen Heart Rush Temporal?
Maybe? I'm not sure I like it very much. I can't... What's the other item that builds into? It's escaped my brain all of a sudden. I'm melted from too much LJL action.
You've been lost in the sauce.
Like everyone knows, like me forgetting items does not happen very often. And I am slightly lost in the sauce, especially after that second game. So fast all the way through for Sengoku. We haven't seen such an early lead explode here. They are advantaged.
Away that held, but they do secure it, and now with the bubble landing onto Jet, maybe there's an engage here, comboed with the Glacial Prism, flashing away, but the Emperor's Divide will not keep you alive. Second kill of the game going for DFM. This is much better from our reigning champions.
They've taken their role slightly more proactively this game. You know, the Zoe, they're going for the bubbles, they're going for these small skirmishing fights they had largely avoided with the Talia. The fear of the flank behind a Geomancer. More of a risk than behind a Zoe who can buy time, trade flashes, can't be flashed upon. Paz and once, they're really fishing here.
Thinking about it.
Okay, DFM, they are crossing into mid. They are going to use the Herald there instead. I mean, Sengoku maybe a little bit slow out on the map now. The tempo not with the Samurai.
Not quite as swift as they could have been. Yaharong flashing away there. That's not his flash though. That's someone else's. He's stolen that away.
Driving it like he stole it. And you might as well use it just before it times out. You don't get to hold onto it forever. The Zoe, I think, fulfilling her role really well so far this game. I really wasn't sure what to expect, as Zoe games can often be very dramatic. This is the approach once again you see on live. Sengoku has started up the Dragon, but this is how they lost the Herald.
Oh, I mean, that's just not acceptable from once to a certain extent. There, when Steel's walking over to a wall like that, you have to assume the Wukong's going to clone over, and it forces Sengoku into a defensive position they don't really recover from in this fight.
They have the approach later on, but it relies on burning flashes. It relies upon Jet, maybe using tools that should be defensive aggressively. And yeah, falling there as well, just to add insult to injury at the end of the fight. The Dragon picked up, there's one apiece on objectives, gold relatively even, only 400 in it. Pretty excited to see where Sengoku go with this next. They have a composition that does win out in these skirmishes as soon as the Zoe is not aligned. And with the Emperor of Shuma, with Azir, ever present in our series, getting it faster and faster with his wave clear, I think we might see something come out in the next few seconds as they're going to get under his tower.
Yaharong doesn't have flash. Vault Breaker coming over the wall. As oh, that's a flash from once, yeah. They just want to kill Yaharong with no opportunity for him to escape. But no, the wild growth comes through in time. And it's actually DFM that make the play work off the dive. 2 for 0, both going to steal.
Sengoku take the proactive line they should. However, Harp from the fog of war, just making it impossible to stay under that tower. The wild growth slow in the ring after the knockup. Just too much locks Sengoku down, and they are trapped where they thought they were advancing.
Yaharong has overstepped in the mid lane.
Okay. I was going to say, maybe one more auto attack was needed there. That was close. Yaharong definitely having a bit of fun with the mid lane.
Yeah, he doesn't die all that often, but gets close, I think, a lot more often than most people would think given his stat line. But looking across this game a bit wider now, DFM 4-1 in terms of the kill score, up 2,000 gold in this early game. This is good from them. This is the best early game that we've seen from DFM so far in this series. And if Vital just can't step up to the wave like what's happening now, it's only going to improve for them.
Should be able to get back in there once, here to help. Yaharong has got that crown, also concerned about the Zoe squishiness. Hopefully we don't see sort of a similar setup to game one with the crown. Denies you doing much damage. Ebby got the level up on Paz. This should be a pretty tight matchup still, though.
That is a lot of damage being dealt by the Sejuani.
I am viscerally upset by the judicious gore drinker that did absolutely nothing in that engagement.
It's pretty rough, and well, you can see why the Sejuani has been prioritized so much as his top lane pick, because in terms of trading pattern efficiency, it's a pretty good one. Auto someone 4 times at press E, and that's 40% of their HP going bye-bye.
It's a lot for so little. So we look across the gold. Once again, Sengoku. Eggs are in the bot lane basket. However, DFM looking more like a unified frontier. The Sejuani might not have been the backline threat we wanted, but it's definitely one that's delivering in the 1 versus 1, and then it can go on later in the game to provide that for Ebby. We look to more proactive plays from our all-star top laner alongside the entire rest of DFM, the unified frontier.
I think they really are the team in the LJL that you can talk about as 5 exceptional players. I think that even the side of Sengoku and Hawks, who are both very strong teams in their own right, I definitely feel like there are players on those rosters that fly a little bit higher than some of the others. But for DFM, it really is, all of these guys are insane. And when they're all playing insane, it's very, very difficult to beat them out. Paz has been caught a little bit in the topside river here, and as he flashes over the board, he runs into a monkey. I'm not sure how the crocodile versus monkey matchup goes in the wild, but on the Rift, it goes in favor of the 5,000-year-old demigod thing.
A little bit of a bounce around with that. Steel catches Paz over the wall, receives him from his flash. And once again, Sengoku's top lane looking a little rough, looking a little unprepared for what is to come in the next few minutes. With Dragon less than a minute away, he will be back out. He still holds his teleports. However, DFM have so much more tempo. They are so advantaged here. They can push in the waves, reset with the extra gold, and comfortably arrive at the objective unless they're trying to break it even further. The bubble lands.
Dash forward from Jet to try and screw up the play, but he's dashed to his doom. Turned into a munchkin by Harp, taken out by Yaharong.
Managed to convert the play. DFM snowball has started rolling, and all 5 members are pushing. The Dragon will spawn. Sengoku will not be able to contest without their mid laner. The priority here, Yaharong looks like he's going for the tier 1 as well. should be able to further shore up the wards either side of mid. They're going to get the Herald first, even a coast to coast, and a huge macro win for DFM.
And something that DFM like to do in these playoff matches, in these best of fives, is pull out something a little bit unorthodox, pull out something a little bit weird that we don't really see all that often, and more often than not, does end up working out for them. Yaharong 3-0-1 on the Zoe, 20 CS lead over his counterpart in Jet, and he's alongside Steel, alongside the other members of DFM, propelled themselves to 4,000 gold lead at 15 minutes. Very impressive stuff.
I'm a bit confused. We've seen the immediate Herald playing the top side, DFM just going for that, and nothing else right now. They will concede the Dragon. Just for T1 Tower.
Not enjoying his time in top lane as it stands. The Gore Drinker to buy a little bit more time, but it's the third death in a row for the Renekton, and it's another tower falling in favor of DFM. 2 of those in as many minutes.
All right, if I have any critique for DFM now, while they have broken open that top side of the map, and that's great, they are attacking the weak side from Sengoku here. That Renekton is now just a stun robot. You've already put him down to the stage where he will not be that role-playing bruiser. He will not have a sufficient gold lead at any stage in this game. However, Sengoku have made the best of it. They managed to get the tier 1 tower back in the bottom side. A Dragon now. They stand at 2-0. That's quite concerning given the size of DFM's lead. Normally you'd be looking to shut out Sengoku here.
Yeah, I think the third Drake is where DFM are going to make their stand against the Dragon stacking of Sengoku. That's something we saw a lot from them in spring, where they would prioritize Herald very, very highly in the early game to get themselves a gold lead. Then even if the enemy team had taken a couple of those Drakes, DFM were the ones with sort of 4,000-5,000 gold in the advantage. And at that point, it doesn't really matter if you got 2 Drakes, because you are never getting the third, you're never getting the fourth, you're never getting that soul, and the win condition disappears.
Yeah, the old days of give your opponent 2 and swing in on 3 to get 4 of a massive soul are behind us in early spring. But however, maybe that is DFM's read on the new Dragons. And they had pretty much doubled up effectiveness. Just to explain it in a phrase, I'm pretty excited to see the next few minutes. I think finally going to have to see once sort of get out on the map now. This Vi, that 0-1-1, did fall a little short of that initial Herald fight, and after then has not been able to interface with the front line properly, has not been able to be that front line that Sengoku need to pile their carries up to high and to dive forwards with Jet. To be the thing in front of Vital. It's really difficult right here.
And I like the sort of itemization that we're seeing from Yaharong here, because normally I'd go Crown Banshees on a Zoe. It's kind of whatever, you're not really doing so much damage, but if it buys enough space for you to for Yaharong to throw out an extra trouble bubble to get another paddle star going and protects him when once he's trying to dive on top of this backline from DFM, then I actually really like it. If you can stay alive for just that little bit longer in a team fight, you can pump out more damage, and it's #worth.
The extra catch forwards for your Wukong. As that consistent damage for Yutapon. Maybe we'll need some defensive assistance at the end of a fight. Can make all the difference. So we are slightly having some technical issues, but let's keep casting in any case. I've run out of things to say. I have a backup audio recording.
Yeah. Well, yeah, just a momentary pause. Not too sure what ended up happening there, but regardless, it stopped, and DFM are continuing to remove away Sengoku vision in this bottom side jungle. There's basically nothing that they can see down there. Doesn't matter too much for the impending fight, though, because that's potentially going to be around this Baron spawning in just under a minute.
I'm in awe of Ebby, who's managed to take a not great matchup for the Sejuani, and not only gain a level lead, a CS lead, a kill participation lead, but he's now drawing Sengoku apart. Jet has had to go to the side lane. It's fine for the Azir. He's one of the few control mages who really can enjoy that position and do just fine. But it's not where he wants to be right now. He doesn't want to be split across the map. That Baron's coming up, and while he's holding his teleport, he is not someone who teleports into great efficacy. He needs to teleport in ahead of time and just be present. Ebby has the macro advantage here as a result. And Sengoku really have to try their best. The pings onto the Baron, the missing pings from the team. Getting vision in there is so hard when your control mage is a million miles away.
And looking at Ebby now, he's got 2 items on this Sejuani. I believe he was actually the first person to get 2 items in this game, which is not something that you usually say, but it's going to be so difficult here for Vital to actually cut through this front line. I think so much of it is going to be on Jet on this Azir, and we've seen a bit of inconsistency from Sengoku's mid laner so far in this series on that Azir. It is the Liandry's again, so a much more damage-focused build than Game 1, but with the amount of tank stacks that Ebby is going to be getting once he gets towards that 3rd item, likely the Force of Nature, I don't know how you remove the Pig Lady from the front line.
Jet will still do some damage. We'll also accelerate the pig to top speed, grease her up, and fire her out at maximum stacks. Jet just sort of has to be everywhere right now. Paz largely ineffective on the Renekton. And he's building another Phage, so I'm going to be really upset in a minute. Take it away, Metal Cut.
Maybe not the best itemization choices. Paz very clearly wants to be something in the front line, but the Gore Drinker isn't really going to allow him to do that right now. Infernal Drake spawning in 5 seconds time, and if you look where both these teams are stood, there's a line of
extra maybe plays, desperation maybe setting in as they realize attacking DFM from this position is going to be incredibly difficult.
I'm enjoying the control that we're seeing from DFM in this game. You can talk about Sengoku feeling like they're scrambling a little bit, and that's just how DFM makes every other team in the LJL play when they are on form. This is not a team that is usually allowing the opponents to make their own moves and to step up when they want to. They are very, very good at dictating the pace of the game to their opponents. And right now, they've maintained the gold advantage that they built in the early stages. It feels like they're just waiting for these Baron fights to become a real concern of theirs, because then they can force on to Sengoku and wipe them off the map.
They don't need to do it before they are just ready. Maybe they're waiting for the 3rd item on Zeri. Maybe they're waiting for Sengoku to misstep forwards, and we'll just hold on patiently. Last time I called DFM patient and disciplined, there was an immediate team fight, and I was proven immediately wrong. So I'm trying not to curse him, but I've just said the words. And would you look at that? Sengoku assembling in their top side jungle. The wave in bot lane is a million miles away. It doesn't need to be played anymore, and Jet should be joining in just a few seconds.
On his way over. Doesn't have the Void Staff completed on the Azir, so for a man that needs to deal damage in this team fight, he's definitely going to have the items to. The question is whether DFM will allow him the opportunity, as they are bullying Sengoku out of their jungle, as starting to lay down a little bit of vision of their own. Baron very clearly on both of these teams' minds.
Yeah, it's a slow grind of vision. Neither team willing to fully commit until someone makes a mistake. This is the most volatile position we've seen for a few minutes. Yaharong has managed to pick up that Shirelius.
Still going over the wall with the clone, trying to make a play onto Vital, but the Emperor's Divide keeps him away. Yutapon now on a solo mission into Sengoku's backline as Jet flashes away from the Glacial Prison just in time. Paz getting a little bit of focus on the front line. A lot burned by DFM. Sengoku forced away.
There's 3 ultimates each. Some flashes away from Sengoku, but not a whole lot happens. We can see lots of little dances like this middle cut. Anyone who fails the flash check, who fails to just evade the tools thrown at them, could become the next victim, could become the reason their opposition gets Baron. Everyone playing with huge nerves right now. We'll rinse and repeat once again. Everyone will head back to base a little bit. Defenders advantage for Sengoku. They will reach their own jungle first. Maybe clear away a bit of that vision. Once again, the dance will begin.
Big thing for me is looking at these AD carries. It was Yaharong flashing to... Oh!
Close.
That'd have been pretty swag if he could steal away that red buff. But it's a red buff onto Vital, onto AD carry, a little bit more gold in his pocket as well. I think whoever gets towards that Infinity Edge first, as both of these AD carries are itemizing towards, is going to be very, very impactful to see who can win this next team fight.
Such a concern. I am also looking at once and Steel as we think about these objectives. Steel in recent weeks has been just making sure the Baron's his, no matter which team leashed it for him. That's all his. Still an item up on once. He's elected to go a bit tankier, but still has not accrued a lot of gold in the last few minutes. You'll notice both junglers are very low CS per minute. There's been lots of demand for the jungle to just shore up bits of the lane or just shadow behind someone so far. And while that has been fulfilled, has left both junglers in a bit of a gold canyon with that extra item still only sitting on that chainsaw just for once. An extra item for Steel. A bit concerned about the longevity of this Vi as soon as people start fighting. And they will just breathe away once again. Slowly conceding the jungle.
And now, because DFM haven't been able to make a decisive play around the Baron as of yet.
There it goes. You said the words.
I said the words. I said they hadn't made a play onto the Baron yet, and now they start it up. Going down a little bit slowly as Utapon, Yaharong waiting on the side, looking for a turn onto Sengoku if they overstep, and Paz has overstepped, taken low, will be forced to pop the Dominus as in and dive Steel into the backline, pushed back beautifully by Jet, but it's still Sengoku who are on the run. The Azir caught out with the Glacial Prison, can't contribute damage to the fight as the Vault Breaker going forward onto Harper's once, so damn low. Somehow, NT claims a kill as it's a 1-for-1 so far, but look at Utapon, full HP, moving forward with the burst fires.
After all that, the person with 2 and a bit tank items falls, and once gets away with absolute murder, getting away with 200 hit points. Slight advantage for Sengoku. They managed to pick up Harp there as well, a 2-for-1, but they will cede the dragon. They will not be able to reestablish their own vision. NT and Vital are too late to the play.
Are you sure about that, Temporal, as Vital is pretty swift on the Sivir?
2 smites, surely not.
I'm not sure if DFM have the health bars. Yes, teleporting from Paz. Steel going into the pit. It's not a 50-50. Once isn't available, but the Drake starts to reset. The damage coming out from Yahrong, not enough.
Pull it out, Paz. It's done.
Pull it out of the pit. The burst that can come through. The burst fire, it's stolen away. No! Once picks it up. DFM tried to burst the Drake over the wall, but they hand over Soul Point to Sengoku.
Once arriving in the nick of time, just managing to get in there. They will pick up the gold bounty as well. That's a little bit extra when that Baron is still on the table. We'll see how the fight started here. Paz goes so deep. I was really concerned as soon as he crosses this corner. I was like, that's the best flank ever, or you're dead. And it's really looking like the dead angle right now. DFM don't overcommit, though. They're really worried about the streamer shuffle. Jet just spaces perfectly to be able to assist Paz if there is an all-in. As soon as that all-in comes through, Steel is knocked back, knocked away. The second Cyclone completely unaffected. Ebby has to be the frontline. Harp has to shield himself, does not deny the Vi the way forwards. Sengoku recombine. They don't need to attack the front line. They've well and truly kept theirs. And with Ebby falling, the fight neutralizes out. Slight advantage for Sengoku, and after all of the dancing around the Drake, they are advantaged.
Yeah, that was a hell of a fight. And I think if Jet actually gets burst down immediately. He got caught by the Glacial Prison, but he was able to stay alive for just that little bit longer and could pump out a little bit of damage on the Sand Soldiers. And somehow, Sengoku, they take away that Drake, and now, with the Soul Point on the table, this gold lead that has stayed consistent for Detonation FocusMe this entire game, it feels like 4,000 in the advantage, but haven't pushed that any further. And now, Vital on 3 items on the Civet is looking scary. Utapon going to be backing relatively soon to pick up his 3rd item. Sengoku, they may look to fight before then.
I think it really speaks a lot to the state of the LJL. If either of these teams was replaced with another, any of the others in playoffs, it's an immediate win for whichever of these teams is still in the match. The level here is so high. The tension and respect cannot be undermined. Sengoku, they've popped their Shurelias now. They're running towards the Baron. They've seen Ebby in the bottom lane, and they want to use their brief numbers advantage.
Look at how many wards they're going to be forced to clear out. They can't get the one in the Pixel Brush, which means that DFM can still move forward. And Ebby on the side lane takes down these towers pretty quickly with that Demolish. An extra 600 gold going towards the Sejuani, who is nigh on unkillable.
Only falling to 5 members of Sengoku, all in the front line. Last team fight. Steel will use his namesake there. That jungle still belongs to Detonation FocusMe. still up in the front, still trying to make a blunder around this Baron. Sengoku, they're not falling for it yet, but there's only so many times you can walk into the fog.
And the thing is, DFM are on a little bit of a timer, because if that Inferno Soul somehow gets taken away by Sengoku, then this game becomes a hell of a lot more even, and you can't play around the Baron when that is a potential tool that the enemy team could pick up.
I've just watched a Spartan Laser steal all the chickens.
I've just watched a Spartan Laser deal 1,000 damage to the chickens as well.
I'm so excited for Worlds. Can't you tell? Can't you tell?
Well, Sengoku won't care as long as it's not doing that amount of damage onto their health bars.
This is true. This is true. Let's take a brief look. Ebby side laning. The experience shown on the screen. Ebby side laning has secured him pretty huge advantage. Jet dinging 16 soon. Yaharong dinging 16 with Vital not far behind. Those are all big teamfight ultimates that will make this Baron dance a little tenser.
Has been started up now by DFM and Sengoku. Got an inkling that this is occurring. Paz moving towards the pit, and I think they're well and truly aware right now. Once has been caught out with a sleeping trouble, but actually dodges away from the glacial prison. And now DFM are trying to fight into the Civet, into the Zir, into all of this damage. The engage was a little bit too far forward and still gets picked off right at the start. Jet and Enti very, very low as Utapon still full HP, still able to pump out the damage. Gets hit by that boomerang blade. Is going to back away themselves, but DFM losing one in the fight. Only a minute to go until this Infernal Dragon, and with Vital dealing damage like this, it's hard to say that DFM are in a comfortable position right now.
It is neck and neck. Once again, reminiscent of Game 1. It's less chaotic. It is more ordered and structured, but Sengoku have twisted. We've left the initial two team fights, the initial two games behind. Those drafts forgotten. Sengoku are being flexible. DFM, they feel like they have to go too far. They feel like they have to do too much. And once again, Steel picked out too far away from his mates.
31.5 minutes into the game, Sengoku finally take down that outer tower. This is a team that thrives in the late game team fighting, in these scenarios where their carries need to pump out the damage. And DFM, they go a little too far forward.
Fancy footwork from once, and then the re-engage, the ability to know you've gone too far, and now I can stay with my team, do a little engage, hold you still for just a little too long, despite DFM's best efforts, despite the Zoe bubbles, despite the frostbite.
And this is the gambit that DFM are forced to play. They move towards the Infernal Drake, and Sengoku say, well, we're just going to start up the Baron still in a gold disadvantage, but that matters less and less as we get on into the game. DFM, though, get here just in time to prevent the Baron from being taken.
Man, these Shirelles, they're giving me flashbacks. This is to a simpler time when everyone would just run around the jungle at top speed as soon as something was about to happen. Utapon has abandoned the rest of the unit. He will be starting up this dragon. Will Sengoku call the bluff, or will they wait in a 4v5?
I think they're just going for the play here. Now, Utapon is going to be able to get over here very quickly. I think he's actually just decided he doesn't want to take that Drake. Yeah, no, giving it up, move first, and DFM could keep doing this if they like to. Eventually, Sengoku are going to have to respond to that wave in the mid lane. They back away.
All right, recall's coming through. That will be the bot lane. That will be anti-vital. No threat onto the inhibitor. DFM playing with shadows, playing with mind games. They will start this dragon once again, and that should be the denial of the soul point. This game will extend even further. Middle cut. I can see 40 minutes. I can see the banger.
Ooh, Harp flashes away, but it's still going to get caught by the cease and desist. The flash with the Splinter. The Lulu is dead. The buffs, the shields, the heals, the slowdowns, the speed ups, not available for DFM as Sengoku are taking over this fight. Utapon was busy doing dragon, but whilst he was busy doing that, the rest of his team was busy dying.
It's just a Civic, can't middle cut. They're only running fast, but for once, Paz flashes forwards, looks exceptional on this Renekton. This is what he is in this composition for, and with Vital running forwards, the wild growth will not happen today. The Baron will be started in Sengoku. It's going to be hard to have a contest here.
Oh, let's go, baby. Double TP into the jungle. The solo lanes of DFM need to save the game for them, and it's not going to happen. Secured by once as now the Yuumi is not in the game, actually. The Zoe and the Sejuani, both a little bit on the wrong side of things, but still able to put out a fair amount of damage as Jet is forced to dash away. This is a 5v3 if DFM opt in for it, but the health bars are low enough that I think they might be able to. Utapon dealing so much damage on the Zeri as Jet taken out as well. Sengoku claim the Baron, but they play with the lives of two of their players.
A little bit of a discoordinated escape there from Sengoku just means they bleed a little bit of the advantage they've just gained. We're starting to see the chaos. We're starting to see the frayed nerves of the last 35 minutes on display. Sengoku, they bite first, but it is not absolute. It is not complete. They have the Baron power play. We'll see the replay here. This is when they finally decide to start up the dragon going down. Paz sees the opportunity once the flash forwards, gets onto Harp, is taken out before the wild growth can come through, before anything can delay Sengoku in the front line. Vital fires away. What a machine gun, even dealing damage to Ebi. With all of those resists, all of that damage, just so fast and so furious.
And look how late to the fight Utapon is. Yes, taking that dragon important. It means that off the back of that play, Sengoku can't pick up the Infernal Soul, but he may have allowed a team that was behind throughout all of this game to come back into it now. Both teams stancing up in the mid lane, and Steel owns himself away over the wall.
Most importantly here, I think we have 2 black cleavers on an accelerated Utapon. As long as Steel doesn't go down early on, this is a lot of physical damage spread out over the fight that can sneak up on something like the Azir, on something like the Vi, where they would normally think they are tanky enough. A little bit of armor break in response, a little bit of leveling the tables could make the difference in these next team fights.
And someone else that could make the difference is Jet. It's not been a great performance from him on the Azir in this game, as flip-flopped around from being an Emperor to being, well, a lowly chieftain at points. 0-4-3 on this Azir, but has items, has gold. Crucially, those are the things that you need to make it work. Paz has been caught out in the top lane, but the rest of his boys are here to back him up, diving forward on the Renekton and buying so much time with that stopwatch. Once finding his way on top of Utapon in the fight, but it's already 1 kill in favor of DFM. Getting turned around, though, as Jet slays the Sejuani. Health bar's low for Vital. Health bar pretty good for Jet as he's forced to dash away. Utapon with so much movement speed on the Zeri. Another 1-for-1 play. It's getting so cagey now, Temporal. Neither team wants to make the mistake. Neither team wants to overstep and lose this game.
Cagey is the name of the game. Paz did reverse that engage, did make sure the DFM had to work to take down the Lizard Wizard, to take down this Renekton. Seeing the replay here, he's picked out the mobility, the Shurelias into the wall skates from Zeri. What an excellent champion. It just enables DFM to get in on this top side. The Shurelia's in response. NT charging his team to the rescue of their top laner. They get onto Utapon, but once is unable to convert forwards and has to go into the stopwatch to survive himself. Just pushing backwards one step at a time. The lack of conversion onto Utapon there is concerning. If that happens again, it might be a DFM wipe where they are better enabled.
This area is getting to the point where she's going to be very, very hard to contest. And the thing is, but that play was only possible for Sengoku because of those stopwatches, because of the ability of Wands and Paz to sort of sit in the front line and buy time. Vital was there as well in terms of the damage. Let's not ignore everything that he was putting out, but he's not going to have those frontline tools available to him to protect him in this upcoming fight. And with Jet being chunked as low as he was there, maybe this Infernal Drake just goes in favor of DFM.
It's hard to say. 7,000 damage cannot be sniffed at. That's all of the way through a tank and most of the way through a carry for Vital. And he did not look like he was under threat at any stage. It can get better when they choose to dive forwards, when chips are on the table. Once off at the side now, Yaharong wisely playing as far away as possible with the poke, with the dive. There's not the Yumi. We love Yumi here on the LJL. However, it's defined our first 2 series and melted my brain. Zoe here, the other fun, bubbly champion, is at serious risk now. An easy way to fix Sengoku's alignment in that last team fight. Just don't dive the Zeri. Forget the Zeri.
Ooh, Harp forced to flash over the wall. Yeah, DFM are just trying to burn this Infernal Drake as quickly as possible. There is vision in the pit, but there is no steal available. The Wukong steal claims that one as Ebi might be falling low, might be falling down. It's the first kill of the fight in favor of Sengoku, and they are looking pretty damn healthy. Just our Paz has flash available. If he can find someone, if we can catch anyone out, he can go forward and wreak havoc. Utapon and steal so low. Jet low himself now with that ultrasoc laser coming through. Sengoku are corralling DFM. They are pushing the back, the flash forward from Paz, securing that Guardian Angel. And that means there's a little bit more space for the carries to play. Wukong forced away, but DFM, they are not running towards their own base right now.
They are stuck in the quadrant. They are away. Jet holds the flank. He will shuffle, but Yaharong's little bubble, little shield, that Banshee's Veil all this time holds on. Utapon just out of range of Vital.
But what, Sengoku can still go if they want to. They will back away, and Yaharong with a massive play on the back half of that fight. Keep the hopes of DFM alive in this game.
Damage wasn't the biggest we've ever seen from a Zoe, but look at the way it sets up this fight. Once into the pit, once, this was just a straight flip. The 300, I think, from the Vi ultimate betraying once slightly. Ebby falling down is really significant. DFM's front line largely broken here. Steel, all that remains, and as you can see, his health bar largely missing. As we go back to live, there is actually a bit of a stampede towards the Baron from DFM. We'll come back to that in a quick moment. The extended fight, DFM end up over the wall. Yaharong's mana is low. He's only got a few casts left of the Sleepy Trouble bubble. And just find Jet, the trade. After all this time, the Banshee's Veil.
Jumping back to live, DFM have started up the Baron. 2 solo lanes not available for Sengoku, as there goes NT. He's dead, and once is going to be falling low as well. Jet trying to do as much damage as he can on the back half of the play, but it's not going to happen. One by one, the animals come through, and the Crocodile trying to take over the play will not make it work. DFM with a clean ace head towards the base.
The huge Wukong ultimate, the Cyclone, too strong, blows down Sengoku Gaming, who had grouped up, who had stood on top of each other, trying to come together over the Baron.
In here, tower going to be falling down as well as DFM march forward. Sengoku, they held on for so long. They made it so close in this game, but the quality, the precision of Detonation FocusMe wins out in the end as they send themselves to match point.
At least one more game. At least one more Herculean effort.